this is Jacob with another episode of Small Business Chat. Joins me today is Mr. Matt. How's it going today, Matt?
Hey, my standard, right? It should be illegal. I'm doing so well. It should be illegal in a couple of states. I probably need to be careful about that because it probably is. But anyways, how you doing?
Doing well, doing well. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today. Miss Taylor Swift is involved in this one again. Had
Surprise,
such a smash
surprise.
hit on our last post, our last podcast talking about her. So figured we tie in some business relevation here with just how to keep your business relevant. When just because you're starting out really relevant means that you just keep doing the same thing. You got to keep innovating, got to keep your business going and flowing and kind of meeting with market trends, et cetera, et cetera. And no better way to do that than to kind of fall in line with how artists do it. Just because you make one hit song doesn't mean that you'll continue to be relevant. Well, I mean, I guess maybe if you're one hit wonder, maybe, but to stay relevant, stay at the times. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
And then we have also, after we talk about Taylor Swift, we got a new thing we wanted to talk about with which was just brought to me. I'm not really much on TikTok. I don't know if you are, Matt, but we have a new catchphrase that wasn't trademarked in time, just kind of like the Hawk Tuo, which we did on a previous podcast. The very demure trend from this one lady, Jules LeBron is their name. We'll talk about that a little bit also later.
Jules.
Yep. So, Matt, want to start us off here? Talk about just how to keep your business relevant. I mean, you're better to tell about this since you've had this business for over 20 years, so you know all about keeping your business relevant.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And by the way, to answer the question on the TikTok, Britney Spears is the one that always keeps bouncing up on my TikTok, and literally bouncing is the way we talk about it. I mean, I think she just puts out like a dancing video about once a day on herself on TikTok. But she's got, I think, some like ridiculous, like 4 million followers. And so, and I'll admit to you, I watch it for like 10 seconds. So yeah, every once in a while I will, but I'm guessing the ad revenue she gets on that alone is just stunning. So, props out to Miss Spears and, all power for her, but no, to her, but yeah, keeping it relevant, right? I've often said that your business is either growing or it's dying. There is no stagnation. And I was recently, actually, I can't remember why, but I started this crazy road off working for a wonderful law firm in the Northern Virginia area many, many, many years ago. And people can research if they really feel it's appropriate. But I always thought working there's great bosses to this day. If my one boss called me and said, "Hey, I got a flat tire, can you come and drive and help me," or something else, I would do it because he's a great man and all that sort of stuff. Fantastic boss. But I looked at the time that I worked there back in the 90s to the early 2000s. I think they had about 25 lawyers, I want to say, and I think they're now down to like 10 or something like that. And it just reminded me of that expression that I just said: you're either growing or you're dying. And I think for businesses, it's incumbent to basically stay relevant, because you can't just bring out a product today and then say, well, everyone's going to continue to love this product forever. So maybe you're kicking butt and taking names, right? I'm trying to think, what can we think of? What do you think? Is there any products that you can think of that like someone brought out? Well, what's a really good product that someone's brought out that's just kicking butt recently? What do you think about this?
Well, I mean, this is a theme of a couple of our podcasts. Prime, I mean, I don't remember when it exactly started, but like it's popping off. I would say Mr. Beast is by any chance?
Someone's told me who's Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast is, you've probably seen him on maybe a couple of YouTube commercials. You have had to. He's on like all the time. He is the most subscribed YouTuber of all time. Like he's got, what is it, like over 300 million subscribers.
So he's beating us by like 200 or 300 million.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
But yeah, he's created kind of like Logan Paul. Logan Paul has his Prime energy drinks that he has, but right. Mr. Beast has Feastables is what his is called, and it's just a chocolate bar, which me and my friend Alex actually, we tried one of those bars when we went to Walmart the other day, and it tastes exactly like a Hershey bar.
Wow.
Exactly.
Well, what's the difference between the Hershey bar and it? Is it like healthy for you or something?
No, it's just his. I mean, I looked too far into it, but it's just him trying to make chocolate, I guess. I mean,
Oh, okay. It's just a chocolate. So when you say Prime, are you talking like Amazon Prime, like how that sprung from Amazon Prime?
no. Logan Paul created his, his drink Prime. Has been the subject of a couple of podcasts we've had. He created his own energy drink, and it's called just Prime.
Okay. So
Yeah.
one of the things that you at a minimum you jogged my thought process here. And so we talked about like, staying relevant, right? And so maybe you didn't mean to take me there, but I sort of went there when you said like I went to Amazon Prime. And I think that one of a great example for basically, our listeners out there is to look at the Amazon model for if you want to talk about staying fresh, staying relevant, right? And we're going to talk about entertainers, Miss Swift, and this other new person that is got phrases, the hawk to a lady, and all that sort of stuff in a second or two, and things you can do better and things that you need to do better. But, anyways, look at Jeff Bezos. Sorry, Bezos or Bezos. I've never quite known how to
Bezos.
pronounce it. Is it Bezos? Okay, sorry, and I mean that respectfully. I just it's my ignorance that's showing through, not his name. He starts. I think he's a finance guy on Wall Street or whatnot, and decides, something, people need to be able to get books, delivered to their homes. And so he starts, it literally is almost all tech billionaires do, doing stuff right out of his, garage. And he's selling books, on the internet out of his garage. Well, books leads to a larger website, whatnot, which leads to then they start then selling products. Then they start a marketplace to sell other people's products. And then they go into streaming services, for video. They're producing their own movies now. They're trying to innovate. I mean, think about, 10 years ago when you ordered something from Amazon, it would come to you in a week or so. Today, because of their hub and spoke system that they've integrated in, you're looking at possibly, I mean, a lot of stuff I order off Amazon, I'm getting the same day. So what have they done? They're staying relevant in the marketplace because they are pushing innovation in their market. They're expanding their marketplace. And that's how Amazon has stayed relevant. And it's not going to happen for everyone, but just look at what he's done. He's expanded and made that a multi-billion dollar company. While, by the way, on props out to him, by the way, getting absolutely shredded over the last couple of years and, going for the new wife, which is just stunningly hot, and all that sort of stuff. So again, props out to them on having a great life and being wealthy, because that, a lot of people get upset when there's a success in the United States and they're jealous or whatever. What I would always say is don't get jealous, get inquisitive, and ask how he did it and what is he doing, because you'll enrich your life a lot better by asking what someone successful is doing to get, and don't ever assume that, they're doing things the wrong way. They're taking money from, hey man, he's just creating a business, which is a great business. And look at where he is today versus where he was 25 years ago, and just, billionaire, he's getting married to a gorgeous woman, they've got houses all over the place and all that sort of stuff. Why? Because he continued to innovate and stay relevant. He just didn't sit back and say, hey, we're the number one bookseller in the world. How can we be the number one goods seller? How can we be the number one streaming service? How can we be the number one person that delivers stuff? I mean, I'm waiting right now. I'm assuming it's a matter of time that he gets enough trucks out there and enough planes that they're going to just start saying, okay, we're going to go into competition versus UPS. I'm assuming it's Amazon shipping is coming at some juncture. And so, hey, FedEx and UPS, you better be looking over your shoulder, because I assume that's coming, and such. So anyways, that's sort of my initial, thing. But how do you stay relevant? You keep innovating, you keep changing your business, right? And you keep, expanding, whatever the case may
I
be.
have something to touch upon that too.
Yeah.
I'm going to get some of these facts wrong. I was very young, or not even, I don't think even born yet when it was first started. But you remember BlackBerry?
Oh, yeah.
Story of how to innovate and how not to be like BlackBerry and further innovate themselves. But I most recently watched that BlackBerry. It's not a documentary; it's an acted out movie. But I think it's literally called BlackBerry. Have you heard of it before? Have you heard of the movie?
I have not, but remember, I was involved with a massive lawsuit with BlackBerry. So I can tell you, but I can tell you what is known to the public about them. But go ahead.
Yeah. I watched the movie. I'm going to get some of these facts wrong because I'm only going off the movie and everything. But they revolutionized cell phones back in the day, and they revolutionized the touchpad or the trackpad or whatever it is, that they used to have on their phones.
Yeah.
It was like one of the best things that came to phones at the time. And they just kind of made it their trademark of that little keyboard that was on the phone, and they wanted to stick to that very closely. And then whenever they, at one point, you can maybe tell me if I'm wrong, Matt, but weren't they at one point like the biggest phone distributor? They were making all of the phones. Everyone had a BlackBerry at one point. Did you?
Absolutely. I loved it. It was
Yeah.
a stunningly great
Yeah,
invention.
yeah, and they were popping off, and they were, revolutionized themselves to get to that point, and just stayed relevant with every upgrade that they came out with. And then all of a sudden, a huge monkey wrench came into play with Mr. Steve Jobs, the owner of Apple.
Yeah, you're
Uh,
nailing this. So far,
yeah,
you got it right. Yeah, you're spot on.
yeah, Mr. Steve
Preach.
Jobs came in and steamrolled the industry with the very first touchscreen phone, and BlackBerry wanted to stick with the keyboard because they felt that that was the best way to operate your phone, and they didn't think that when Steve Jobs came out with the touchscreen that it would be anybody would love it or if it would work very well. But yeah, it did work very well. It's what we come to as a standard now. So obviously, every phone now is a smartphone and has a touchscreen. So that's a good, pretty much a good explanation of how Vow to innovate and stay relevant, but also the opposite because they failed to create a touchscreen phone. Or maybe they eventually did it just wasn't popular. But I only remember them.
They did.
Yeah, them
Yeah,
just
but it was
creating it.
later.
Yeah, yeah. And then
So
yeah, then the basically the owners of BlackBerry just fell out. I know there's a lot of legal cases against them too in the movie, with some faulty business practice, but yeah.
yeah, and I'm not there. So you pretty much hit it on the head. BlackBerry what I would call is they basically one of the challenges is they were continuing to try to innovate, but their innovation went almost in the wrong direction. And at the same time, they basically had a competitor come out of nowhere, Apple, and then start basically producing a product which was just cool. For anyone who's got an Apple iPhone, you've never known probably what it was like prior to having that. But so BlackBerry's massive innovation was really push notification. So what would happen is they created this thing originally. The original BlackBerry was not a phone. The original BlackBerry was pretty much like a texting device
Like a
that you
pager.
would, yeah, like a pager that it was two-way. It was a two-way texting device, and that was their huge thing. They come up with the push notification, and so in the legal industry, and you had what's called a QWERTY keyboard, which is the little teeny miniature keyboard. But because of the way they figured out how to like make the buttons round and all that sort of stuff and stick up, they basically you could really type pretty well. And like it was, I mean, you could watch like at least in the business industry and the legal industry that I was in, you could see people like writing entire like furiously, and they clicked too. It was like this click, 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 click. You could hear like people just like lawyers clicking away on these things. But it was the first time that we'd actually like get notices from the office or questions from your boss, and you could answer in real time right back because that was the push. They came up with that technology, which was revolutionary at the time. Before that, it was like you had cell phones, but they were like your old Ericssons or something like that. And yes, you could call somebody, but you couldn't be sitting in like a deposition or in a business meeting and then just look down and like someone says, "Hey, here's the documents in the Smith folder," and you could be like, boom, 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 boom. And so they came up with this push technology. And then so they kept innovating, and they were just, I mean, people called them crackberries, and that's how my involvement is. And I got to be cautious because I represented the guys that actually owned Crackberry, the website, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the litigation, that we got involved with the people from BlackBerry over because, there were some issues that, were going on, but they were so addictive, they called them crackberries. But what the challenge was with the BlackBerry over time, and this is just generally my knowledge of them in the industry because I followed them for a long time because I happen to have a relationship with them, their counsel, et cetera, was that they were sort of that one-hit wonder. And then Steve Jobs comes out and says, well, not only are we going to allow push notification of your emails, that's also, they did push mail of texts, push mail notifications of your emails. But Steve Jobs goes, you're going to be able to get your emails on the iPhone, and we're going to give you this cool video screen, touch screen, and all that sort of stuff. And the BlackBerry guys were just late to emulate that because they're like, no, people aren't going to want that. They want our QWERTY keyboard. You can't type as fast on that electronic keyboard. Wrong. You can do it just as fast. And then you got video and you could surf the web on it. That was the big thing, was the browser. And Steve Jobs brought this awesome browser to the iPhone. And once they started losing market share, it was a very fast slide to the bottom. And then somehow, Apple overtook them, Samsung then overtook them. And then over time, I think they just started selling the operating system. But again, innovation got them to where they were, but then failure to innovate lost them all their market share, especially when a juggernaut comes after you, and you've got to be really careful about that. So pushing this theory out, we see you've got to, especially if you have a product, if you're a product, you've got to keep innovating new and different variants of that product. Okay. So let me just once again
And
talk about
how
that.
stressful is that, by the way,
Oh,
for an owner?
absolutely.
Like, I bet it's really stressful because you're just like, who's beating me? Like, because I know,
Absolutely.
LegalZoom and other trademark companies are out there. Like, how stressful is it for you? I know there's a specific room in this building that you don't like to go in too much because you call it the stress room. But how
Yeah.
how stressful is it to just know that there's other companies out there, especially when you're new, of how to kind of, I mean, how stressful was it?
I think when you're new, I think that, you're so excited about, creating your product, and you're so excited. And when it hits in the marketplace, you're like, this is awesome. But at some juncture, then you go through the next level, which is, and I think that you have to have a little bit of healthy paranoia, as I like to call it, looking over your shoulder, because as soon as you hit this, and this is one of the things that happened to our company, as soon as we, you start getting a little bit of press, as soon as you get a little bit of whatever, you're going to get more prying eyes on you, like, well, they're doing things the right way. But the minute that, people know that you're making a buck, people are going to realize, oh, wow, that's, and if you don't have any barriers to entry in our industry, there's really not many barriers to entry. And if you don't have any barriers to entry, if you're making a buck and people start seeing magazine articles on you and all that sort of stuff, well, guess what? You're going to have 27 copycats launch within a year. And so you have to keep, like I said, innovating and keeping your products and service better than the next guy that's coming out. Because if not, people are just going to like look for someone's going to come out, they're going to be cheaper than your product or something like that. So I think that you should always have an innovation schedule for almost anyone. And this goes, and again, we'll merge into Miss Swift in a second here, but I think it's, quarterly, or at least biannually, which means twice a year. Doesn't mean anything else. But anyways, but at least quarterly. I mean, look at Apple. Apple's always launching the next product because they have to stay relevant, right? They got to sell iPhones, so they got to come up with a new iOS, which makes it go, oh, look, now we have AI in our iOS, or we have this, or we have that. Look, it's a better camera, it's a better this, it's a bigger screen, whatever the case. They're constantly innovating because they're giving their consumers something else to purchase. If you have, came out with one t-shirt, it's got a smiley face on it, and that's the only thing that you ever do, someone eventually is going to make a frowny face t-shirt and take half your market. And if you never innovate, you don't come up with another product, you don't update your product, you're going to be looking over your shoulder, but there are going to be people that are updating your product, creating better services based on your model, and kicking your butt. And you will only see the back of their shoes as they run past you. So you've got to keep relevant by innovating.
Is there a way to predict that at all? I mean, there's no, I mean, BlackBerry didn't see it coming that there'd be a touchscreen phone. So how as an owner do you predict that type of innovation?
I think that's one of the most the challenges. Like if you can actually innovate and actually get patent protection on it, that's a fantastic thing, because you throw up a barrier to entry. So, for instance, patent attorneys get paid a lot of money, and oftentimes rightfully so, to protect electronic patents or chemical patents for the drug manufacturers, Pfizer, GSK, et cetera. And I happen to be in the minority in this country. I actually believe that they should be able to charge a decent amount of money for their drugs, because they spend $1 billion to actually bring one to market. And so they have to recoup that money. That's what the patent system is here to protect. But drug companies are constantly trying to get better drugs for us to keep us alive, solve our issues and all that sort of stuff. So they're in the innovation game, the innovation business. And I think that, if you're a technology manufacturer, if you have any type of service business, anything, you have to keep yourself relevant by innovating and then marketing the living hell out of that innovation. Because again, you have the greatest product. We've talked about this way back in the past, earlier podcasts, VHS versus Beta, remember? And which was the better? The Betamax. But no one remembers it because VHS tapes were better marketed and more people had them. And so that's the way it goes. But I think that, again, it's just marketing, the better innovation or increased innovation to keep yourself relevant. Yeah, it's some direction we're going to turn to, and I'll just turn to it. Shall we talk about Miss Swift again, Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I had some topics. I think what we could do is I'll go through these different topics of how Taylor Swift has reinvented herself, or kind of just roll through how she evolved and stayed relevant. And how about you kind of tie it into how it applies to a business sense, as in starting your own business. So how she did it was through musical evolution, right? So she constantly keeps reinventing her music to reflect, like her growth and her interests. She started with country music. If you remember all the way back in the beginning, that's when I first grew up with her, is when she started with country music. Then
You
she
grew up with
transitioned.
Taylor Swift?
I did. She was my very first celebrity crush, man. She was huge for me. I
That's
didn't
not
like
bad,
to
though.
admit it because my sister would pick on me, but that was my first ever celebrity crush. Then she went from country, she transitioned to pop, and then later she started other alternative sounds, and
Well,
she
there's more
kept
money,
adapting
and
her music.
pop gives you greater exposure. I
Yeah,
think, even though
exactly.
country's awesome, but there's more money and all that sort of stuff.
Pop
And by
pop
the way,
appeals to a brighter
yeah,
audience. Yeah.
it's not a bad celebrity crush. Although I think she may be too tall for me, but she would be perfect for you. She looks to me like she may be 5'10" or 5'11". She looks very tall.
Yeah, I
But
just
anyway,
I really like just her whenever she was doing just country in the beginning. She just I think every little teenager was all head over heels over Taylor Swift at that point. But I mean, as she got older, I think she still looks great nowadays. But
do you
when
have
I
a
was
celebrity
younger,
pass in your marriage? Out of curiosity.
no, we got.
No, I think I'd have a celebrity stabbing in the chest if I my wife would kill
I
me. But
mean,
yeah,
I've always had a crush on Scarlett Johansson, always,
another, yeah,
just
that's quality. Yeah.
yeah, so she's just great person and just great actress and everything she does pretty
Oh yeah.
much. She has
Oh yeah.
such a wide variety of roles that she can take. That I mean, obviously she's widely known as Black Widow in Marvel, but she does a lot of other great movies too. So but yeah, getting it back to the evolution of her, how she adapts her music to to make it fresh and different to audiences. Matt, how can you tie that in with just instead of music evolution, just business evolution? So like I said, she reinvents her music through her growth and her interests. She went from country to pop. How can you tie that into business?
Yeah, and I think that is like, yeah, I'm always impressed. Like I said, I love the Jeff Bezos. Did I get it right that time? The Jeff Bezos story, because
Yep, got it.
it's just
Yep.
whatever. And and there are going to be haters in every industry, but I think that Miss Swift, first of all, I've mentioned this on our last podcast. I just know of a story that she came down the road here as a 15-year-old and was singing, doing an after school concert for Athens Drive High School. They were mentioning this when she came through the area a little while ago or something like that, or when Eris went on sale. And what a hardworking person, so again, all the success for her. But so she starts off as, singing in high school gyms to just start to, get her craft down, get her notoriety up, etc. And I guess she goes from country music, and then she's like, okay, so I'm gonna, what do I do next? I'm gonna span down. I'm gonna maybe do a pop album. And there's always jokes about it. You always write songs, but artists write songs about their lives and the things they experience. So as a young person, and by the way, you never hear like people talking about guys. That was a little bit sexist, by the way. Guys that go through it and break up with girls and then write songs about it and all that sort of stuff. But they always make a big deal about, oh, Taylor Swift broke up with another guy, so then she's gonna write a song about it. Well, absolutely, that's what artists do. So it's awesome. But you see her progression, to basically like stay relevant, which is okay. The new album just dropped, then you stay relevant by going on tour, 3 months later, for the new album. But while you're going on tour, you don't see how hard they're working to basically get that next album out. Now, at this juncture, she has probably an army of people helping her. And as we're now aware, I gotta be honest with you, I have seen a lot of concerts in my time, and I mean this respectfully to all of the greats that I've happened to see, like on TV and otherwise. The Rolling Stones, U2, just some of the greatest acts of all time. I've seen Michael Jackson live but not like live, but you know what I'm talking about? Man,
Yeah. Mhm.
what Taylor Swift has put on with this thing, holy crap. I mean, it's just stunningly. And so it's stunning. And so how do you stay relevant? Well, we know she's already filed for a trademark for TaylorCon. So while, while some people are playing chess, she's playing three-dimensional chess right now. She's already looking out, and her people are looking out for, okay, so the Eras tours are eventually going to end in Europe here. I don't know if she's going to bring it back to the US and do some more shows. I thought she was going to end it in Los Angeles. But whatnot. And hopefully the woman takes a year off or two to sort of take a breath. But from an entertainer's perspective, that could be suicide, because then you fall out of the public eye for a while. So you got to come up with what's next. And I think TaylorCon is one of the things that's a possibility. Now, what is that?
A great explanation for that is,
Yeah.
and I'm not I don't know all the facts, but this relates to another artist that kind of fell out and still is relevant, is Eminem. Eminem was popping off when in his early career, coming out with albums left and right. And if you remember, he dropped off for many years, and didn't come out with any music, any albums for many years. And then now he's back. I mean, he's been back for a couple of years now, but for a period of time, he was out for a long time. And we all thought that his career was dead, but now he's back and he's creating, I think his last album is like one of the highest, like the most listeners that's ever been on an album in a long time in Spotify.
Yeah, it's cool. And to me, from my generation, the artist that sticks out to me as staying relevant the longest, I actually would pick two, actually. U2, which have done a great job, but my grand dame, my champion would be Madonna. I mean, she hit it huge in 1984, I think, with the Like a Virgin release. But then even during marriages, pregnancy, et cetera, she made sure that singles were dropping and such. Even we talked about this the other day. I don't think we talked about it in the podcast, but we were in the office talking about it. I'm pretty sure that she timed up the dropping of a single. One of them, I can remember, she was back of a limousine dancing around. She was in her 40s at the time, I think, and trying to look like she was in her 20s and stuff. She did a great job. She's in stunningly good shape, yada, yada, yada. I think that came out like when she was having like her second child or something. Or at least I know she was dropping them when she was, because they plan it out. So the answer is, I'm going to have a child and then I'm going to drop it. I remember Rihanna did the same thing as well more recently with at least her first child. And Rihanna was out there performing in the Super Bowl while she was like, I don't know, like 6 weeks pregnant with her second child. Maybe people just didn't really realize that. And she says, okay, well, but staying relevant. But the simple point saying is, coming back to Taylor and, Madonna and such, from a performer's perspective, they know this because they know, like, hey, if I go away for a while, it's going to be harder for me to recapture that audience when I come back after 20 years. I may have the same audience going, yay, it's Eminem back and such, but I'm not going to sell that many new albums to like a new generation. But in order to keep selling to more and more people, you've got to be working your buns off all the time. So if we look at anything from Amazon to Apple versus BlackBerry, to the entertainers we've talked about, you got to keep yourself in your consumers' minds. You got to be dropping either new products, new services in the form of songs, innovating, changing it up. Once again, I think the pressure now on Miss Swift is going to be what is TaylorCon going to be? And again, I would assume that her people and her are smart enough, and they are obviously extraordinarily intelligent and great business marketers, that they're probably going to take it down a little bit and maybe do a higher end, smaller, because she's done the stadium tour to end all stadium tours. So what are you going to do now? Okay, bring it into like more of a a PNC arena, maybe 15 or 16,000 people. Let's make it a little bit more intimate with TaylorCon, and you're going to actually hear her talk and such, and just sort of just, I don't know what the hell she's going to do. Maybe just get out her guitar every once in a while and just go back to her roots. But people freaking go nuts for that, and such. But we'll see. But staying relevant is a challenge, right? But like, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like we said, like, and I'm going to transition this to our final thing here, sort of, if I may, because so I think one of the challenges, so when you hit celebrity really hard, like the Hawk Tuah girl, right? We were talking about this the other day. And so she missed some of her opportunities with trademarking her brands and all that sort of stuff. But how long is that going to, it's a thing, but it's going to pass. So what I think that she needed to do to stay relevant, and maybe she still can do this, is you want to roll that into, I mean, she's a cute young girl. I think she had done some modeling before, and roll it into modeling. But if I were her, I would have been just absolutely, I would have my agent just absolutely bombing CBS And I'm trying to think whoever runs the other reality shows, like you want this girl on a reality show. And it may not be like The Amazing Race because that's more family friendly or something like that, but she's got to keep herself relevant. So now she's had this little fleeting bit of fame. And now it's like, okay, well, what are you going to do to capitalize on this? And to me, it's like, we'll get on, I would tend to say Big Brother, or if there's an MT, something that's a little bit more racy, but get on a reality show. So she can then be famous from that and then start becoming like maybe a Bravo celebrity. I mean, I would be hitting up Andy Cohen over there at Bravo because Lord knows he does, he is the king of freaking, you know, um, reality shows now. He's done such a great job for himself over the years. But I would be absolutely hit. Hey, what show can we get on? How can we keep her? Let's turn her 15 minutes of fame into a lifetime of fame. But she's got to keep relevant. Like we have someone else. Bring us through this. What's this new one here that we're talking about?
Yeah, so it's the Very Demure trademark. So I'll read through a little bit here. This is from, what's her name again? It's Jules LeBron is their name. Let's see here. Yeah, so she has 2 million followers on TikTok.
Damn.
She's credited for starting the online craze over the very mindful, very cutesy lingo. And looks like she's has over 173,000 TikTok posts. Oh my goodness. Have used the word demure in the last 7 days. According to the analytics from the platform, the trend burgeoned after LeBron was viral this month for her videos explaining how to be very demure, which I'm still wondering what that word is. Do you know what that means, Matt? Very demure?
Yes, but I'm not going to tell you. No, I have no idea. I'm guessing fashionable. I don't know.
Fashionable.
No, you
Very
was it
demure, very mindful at work while waiting to board a plane, and very cutesy during a night out on vacation. These
modest?
phrases have been inundating the social media to email and inboxes as brands and celebrities hop on the trend. So basically, right now, she's going viral. And guess what? Just like Hawk Tuah Girl, she did not trademark her name in time or
No.
trademark the phrase. And now I'm looking on the USPTO's database right now. There's 2 trademarks, and guess what? They're not owned by her. So
Yeah, there you
very
go.
very mindful. They're advertising and marketing, promotional services, and advertising services so far. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean and so trademarks, as we're all aware, they're goods and services specific, and so just because you utter something in a TikTok video or something like that, as we know from, I think her name was Haley, for the Haktua, and then for this woman, for the demure, comment, you have to use them for goods or services. You can't just, if you're just talking and you actually make a phrase, that's not an actual trademark usage. Trademark usage is if you put it on a T-shirt, or I mean, it's not just that. There's a really archaic, refusal, which is called ornamental. Which, in other words, it's sort of like think of a T-shirt with the yellow smiley face on it. That's not telling you. Trademarks tells you who produces this good or service. It's not just like putting a phrase on an actual T-shirt. Now, there are ways that you can actually do it. I would create the Huck to a company, and then put it on a label or something like that, and then you can put it on a T-shirt, and you at least in theory have rights in that. But the number one thing is, I would suggest to all you TikTokers out there, and to anyone who happens to listen to this, if you come up with them great catchphrases and such as, get an intent to use application on file with the Patent and Trademark Office, protecting it for clothing and all that other sort of stuff. But the other thing is man, your fame on that is going to be fleeting. This is going to be here today, and this is going to be gone in a week and a half. And so you need to monetize this thing, and you need to have your ducks in a row, so you can be putting this thing on T-shirts within a day or two through is it Teespring? I'm trying to remember what are those places where you can just put up T-shirts and you can actually sell them like almost in an instant.
Etsy.
I want to say Etsy is another one. I think Teespring is one. They can design them for you and ship them out. But I mean,
Mr. Print.
So if you happen to, again, one of them, like, you one of those people, you got to protect it in your name, because otherwise, I say something that's amazing at some juncture. Hope springs eternal, right? And I would basically just walk down and file an intent to use trademark application, because then also, if anyone starts putting on T-shirts, I at least have something to hang my hat on that I can say, hey, you owe me money for that. How much money did you make all those T-shirts? Oh, you made $75 grand, that's mine. Give it to me, or I'm going to sue your butt back to the Stone Ages. But if you don't even, go out there and file an intent to use trademark application and you never put it on that t-shirt or anything like that, what rights do you have? None. You're just a famous person that uttered something, by the way, you mentioned LeBron. He's like still the trending.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That I'm sorry. I'm like, wow, man. I mean, again. Sorry. I always I don't like talking negatively about people. I just don't believe too much in it. This is fun. And one of the greatest of all time. And it's just like, props out to him for his longevity in his career, but then also be trending that much on social media, which, by the way, on a side, talk about business people. I know that LeBron has personally started, I want to say, a venture capital fund, or it was his own money. And he goes back to his hometown and he has invested in many, many minority owned, small businesses in the Akron area. So a lot of people hear all the great things that LeBron has done and just want to give a shout out to that guy. Cause that, you can do a lot of stuff with all your money that he's made and how smart he is and all that sort of stuff. You don't have to do that. And that's a good man. So
nice
anyways,
tie-in, Matt. Nice tie-in with LeBron.
Yeah, I thought I'd do a tie-in for LeBron. But I mean, but
Well,
it's
because
just really
speaking
what
of
a
staying
good
relevant,
human.
he just keeps staying relevant with how good he is. So
Yeah, he's a good human. People always debate the whole Jordan LeBron thing, and whatever. He's I'm not saying anything negative about Michael Jordan. I don't know a lot about Michael Jordan's personal life, but I know because LeBron, every time he takes a step to the left, someone reports on it. And every time he takes a step to the right, they write articles. Well, maybe he should take whatever. I know he's just helped
imagine
a lot of
having that
people.
much popularity. I mean, whatever
Yeah.
you do is just in the news.
Well, it's a double-edged sword for those celebrities because on one hand, if they are intelligent like LeBron is, they can turn it into a mountain of cash. But it's a lot of hard work, and he's a very smart guy, obviously. But on the flip side, then you can't ever walk anywhere without 1,000 people trying to get your autograph and stuff, and that's got to be a little bit annoying. But that's one of the reasons why you're as wealthy as you are, is because your celebrity has gotten you to that point. But again, just shout out to him, just because I mean that's just freaking cool. And just man, I would love to be have the company that actually helps him out. I'm sure he's got a big law firm that helps him out and all that sort of stuff, help those small businesses and such. But man, would I love to just help him out, like probably just for free. I'd be like, yeah, we'll help him out with their trademarks and whatever, just for free, just because, and that's just cool, and such. But it's just good to see a guy like that giving back. Because I don't think people talk about the greatness of him in that regard as much. Basketball is one thing, but impacting people's lives is a complete another thing. And what a good dude. But anyways, I'm sorry, I digressed.
No, just to finish this off, just to give her final comments, or what's the most recent news is that LeBron, the TikTok artist, the Demure lady, she states she did not have the resources to navigate her newfound fame, and she's invested so much money and time into it, and she feels like she did it wrong. She says, I feel like I didn't try hard enough, LeBron said through tears in the now deleted video. So basically, right now, as of Tuesday, LeBron posted a TikTok saying that the trademark matter has been handled, and now that she has a team behind her helping her to navigate the situation. So we'll see what comes of that.
Translation: I've got big law firms, they got a lot of lawyers, and they're going to kick some butt for me.
Yep. I mean, the two applications let's see on there is from Jefferson A. Bates, filed a trademark for very demure, very mindful. And that application was filed 8 days ago. So there we go. And then the other one was filed for very demure, very cutesy. That one was filed for, let's see, advertising services too, by Cassandra Pop, whoever that is. So
yeah. I mean, and then they will ultimately all, again, as I always say, the winners in this will be the lawyers, because it's with respect out to the woman that uttered the phrase, and I think you showed me, she was on Jimmy Kimmel and all that sort of stuff, which is awesome for her. It's 15 minutes of fame on this, and it'll be on to something else. But nevertheless, it's her 15 minutes of fame, and she should be able to capitalize on it, in my opinion. And as opposed to others and such. So just as a, I guess the final note from me would just be so for anyone who's listening out there, if you ever get one of them viral phrases or whatever, get in touch with a good company like the trademark company to help you out, or a law firm or whatever. You just to say, hey, what, depending on your financial circumstances, what can we do to protect this ASAP? The minute you start seeing it going crazy on whatever social media, you should give it a shot, because then you may be able to monetize it. Ideally, not just legally protected, but then get those shirts out there ASAP that are produced by you and such, because that's when you actually can make money off of this sort of stuff. And that's ultimately what this is all about. Not having a bunch of lawyers fight over who has rights to it. Who gives a crap if you fight, if you have rights to it and you finally secure the rights and it's on your 17th minute and no one really gives a crap anymore. So I think that you really have got to basically just, first of all, get out there and monetize it, get what's yours, but then protect it through a trademark or otherwise. And if you're curious as to how to do it, we can help, or, any of the other fine law firms out there can actually do it as well. Not other fine, but just law firms can help you in general, because we're not a law firm. But anyways, yeah, that's what I got.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Matt, for telling us about that. And as always, Matt tied it in as well. Since we're, help out primarily small business owners, just contact us if something like yours happens to be popular, reach out to us. We're very quick to get those trademark applications on file. So this episode is sponsored again by the Trademark Company. I'll link or I'll leave the link in the description as always. So go check us out. But that does it for us today. Thank you for whoever is listening, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Thank you.